So 250 years ago, right now, the revolution was well underway. The American Revolution had been started. The Continental Congress was meeting in this building, Independence Hall. And one thing I've been doing every day is just checking letters that the Founding Fathers wrote back and forth to each other. So I figured I'd check today and see if I find anything interesting and share it with you. I've got my laptop right here. So I'm gonna be looking down and checking for letters. Okay, today we are reading letters from July 20th, 1775. We have 4 documents to read through. General orders as always. To John Adams from James Warren, which we will leave to the end. I like to leave John Adams' letters to the end. I think they're nice to end on. This letter from George Washington to Lund, Washington, it's not found, so we'll just click into it, but we won't linger on it. From George Washington to Samuel Washington, we'll read, and that seems like a personal letter. Let's see what's in there. But as usual, let's first start with general orders. Okay, general orders, 20th of July, 1775. Adjust the screen slightly. Okay. Headquarters, Cambridge, countersigned Ticonderoga, July 20th, 1775. Pearl, Albany. Certain drums in and near Cambridge very improperly beat the reveille this morning before day, although the troops were ordered to be under arms half an hour before daylight. It does not follow the drums are to beat at that time. The reveille is to beat when a sentry can see clearly 1,000 yards around him and not before. All aides de camp and majors of brigade are to keep regularly entered in a book all the general orders of the army, as well as those of the brigades they belong to, as the general-in-chief will not for the future admit as an excuse for the breach of orders the plea of not knowing them. Samuel Osgood and Joseph Ward, Esquires, being appointed aide-de-camp to Major General Ward, they are to be obeyed as such, and all orders coming from aide-de-camp are to be considered as the orders of their respective generals, and whether written or verbal, to be forthwith obeyed. It may be necessary once more to repeat to the army that every aide-de-camp and major of brigade will be distinguished by a green riband. Certain corps, having been dilatory in delivering last Saturday their weekly returns, as positively directed by former orders, the general is determined for the future not to excuse any neglect in sending the returns every Saturday to the adjutant general. As the commanding officers of regiments are to be answerable for the due observance of this order, it is expected they are exact in obliging their respective adjutants to fulfill their duty. Footnote number 1. Samuel Osgood, a merchant in Andover, joined the American Army after the Battle of Lexington as captain of a Massachusetts militia company. He served as an aide-de-camp to Artemas Ward until 23rd of April, 1776, eventually achieving the rank of colonel. From 1781 to 1784, Osgood sat in the Continental Congress and was a member of the Board of Treasury. Joseph Ward, a Massachusetts schoolmaster, was an aide-de-camp in his second cousin Artemas Ward until 23rd of April, 1776, and then his secretary until 20th of September, 1776. On 10th of April, 1777, Joseph Ward became Commissary General of Musters for the Continental Army with the rank of colonel, an office he held until February 1780. Footnote number 2. This insignia was first prescribed in General Orders 14th of July, 1775. We read that document. You can go back to that video and look at it for yourself in the video on the 14th of July, 1775. Footnote number 3. For George Washington's previous orders regarding returns, see General Orders 12, 13, and 17th of July, 1775. We read all of those documents. You can go back to those videos and listen to them as you please. Let's start the letters by just clicking into this letter not found. I guess they know it exists because in a letter 15th of October to George Washington, Lund Washington referred to George Washington's letter of July 20th. Next, let's read from George Washington to Samuel Washington. Oh. Okay, come on, please zoom in. There we go. To Samuel Washington from George Washington, 20th of July, 1775, camp at Cambridge, about 5 miles from Boston. This looks interesting. Okay. Dear brother, agreeable to your request, I am now set down to write to you, although in the first place I have scarce time to indulge an inclination of the kind. And in the next place, do not know how or whether it may ever get to your hands. I came to this place the 2nd instant, and found a numerous army of provincials under very little command, discipline, or order. I found our enemy, who had drove our people from Bunker's Hill, strongly entrenching, and from accounts had reason to expect before this another attack from them. But, as we have been incessantly, Sundays not excepted, employed in throwing up works of defense, I rather begin to believe now that they think it rather a dangerous experiment, and that we shall remain some time watching the motions of each other, at the distance of little more than a mile, and in full view. From the best accounts we have been able to get, the number of the enemy amounts to between 10 and 12,000 men, part of which are in Boston and part on Bunker's Hill. Our numbers, including sick, absent, etc., are between 16 and 18,000 men. 16 and 18,000. But then, having great extent of lines and many places to defend, and not knowing where the attack may be made, as they have the entire command of the water and can draw their whole force to any one point in an hour or two's time, without any person but the commanding officer who directs it having the least previous notice of it, our situation is a little unfavorable. But not so bad, but that I think we can give them a pretty warm reception if they think proper to make any advances towards us. Their situation is such as to secure them from any attack of ours. By what we can learn, they are sadly distressed for want of fresh provisions. Beef and milk cows in Boston sells from 1 shilling to 18 d sturge per pound, mutton higher, and these only to be had for the sick. The number of those killed and wounded in the engagement on Bunker's Hill could not fall short of 1,100. Ours did not exceed 450. A few more such victories would put an end to their army and the present contest. The village I am in is situated in the midst of a delightful country, and is a very beautiful place itself, though small. 1,000 pities that such a country should become the theater of war. A month from this day will bring some capital change, I expect. For if the enemy are not able to penetrate into the country, they may as well, one would think, give up the point and return home. For if they stay at Boston and at Bunker's Hill, which is another peninsula left unto it, and separated by a small ferry over to Charlestown, which is part of the neck, I say, if they stay at those places forever, the end for which they were sent cannot be accomplished, and to compel them to remain there is the principal object we have in view, indeed, the only. We have seen nothing of the riflemen yet, nor have we heard anything certain of them. I have only time to add my love to my sister and the family, and to assure you that I am with unfeigned regard and truth, Dr. Sir, your affectionate brother and friend, George Washington. You may be dear sir, your affectionate brother and friend, George Washington. P.S. In the late engagement of the 17th ultimate, the enemy, by the best accounts we can get, had 1,043 men killed and wounded, whereof 92 were officers. Our loss amounted to 139 killed, 278 wounded, and 36 missing. Pray remember me kindly to Mr. Warner Washington and family when you see them. Footnote number 1. Footnote number 1. Most of this number has been torn away, but a comparison with the date line of George Washington's letter of the 27th of July, 1775, to John Augustine Washington indicates that it was a 5. Footnote number 2. George Washington, by the British losses at put the British losses at 1,057 in his letter to Lund, Washington, 28th of August, 1775. The number of Americans who were killed in the battle is given as 139. In George Washington to George William Fairfax, 25th of July, 1775, and 138 in George Washington to John Augustine Washington, 27th of July, 1775. Footnote number 3, these words, which are illegible in the manuscript, are taken from Fitzpatrick writings, etc. George Washington's cousin, Warner Washington Sr., lived in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, several miles south of Samuel Washington's house. Finally, let's end with To John Adams from James Warren. And this is quite a long one. Okay, great. Let's see, I see the word hussars, so I'm interested to hear more. In a previous letter, John Adams to James Warren have talked about a hussar, a German hussar, who showed up one day at Independence Hall in full military regalia, and so impressed the founding fathers that they ordered the German hussar to go back to Germantown here in Philadelphia and muster up all the soldiers who had immigrated from Germany. And this never came to fruition, but they were planning to send the hussars to Washington in Boston. So I'm interested to see if this letter gives an update about that. Okay, Watertown, July 20th, 1775. Mr. Dear Sir, I yesterday returned from Plymouth, where I had an opportunity of spending only 3 or 4 days in such a hurry of private business as would scarcely admit of a single meditation in the calm retirements of the fields. I breakfasted in the morning with your sensible and amiable lady. She showed me a letter from you. I read it with pleasure. I arrived here about 12 o'clock. You will say a late hour for election day. I found here 2 of your letters, one from enclosing the 2 pamphlets, and one of them enclosing the 2 pamphlets, and your friend Mr. Collins called upon me this morning and delivered me 2 more. I think myself greatly obliged to you for your friendship, confidence, and the marks of partiality I meet with in every letter I receive from you. I had but an hour's conversation with your friend. From the best judgment I can make in so short an acquaintance, he is worthy of your friendship. I admire his open frankness and judicious observations and sentiments. He has promised to dine with me tomorrow or next day. Our new assembly met yesterday and only chose speaker and clerk, and postponed the choice of councilors till tomorrow morning. I fear with all this deliberation, we shall not get such a board as will please you. Boston is the only place to hold election in. I hope the next will be there, but if we might do as we would, it is astonishing how few sterling men are to be found in so large a province as this is. I am not able to give my opinion of the pamphlets you sent me, not having had time to read them. I was late last evening settling the list of councillors. This morning I had many things to do, and then to go to meeting. The fast is observed here with a strictness and devotion that shows the opinion the people have of the authority that appointed it, as well as their reverence for him who overrules all events, and has so signally appeared in our favor. So few occurrences have taken place since my last in the military way that your curiosity will not be sufficiently satisfied with an account of them. I will endeavor to recollect them all. Okay, here we go. The attempt on Long Island, the taking off all the stock, and afterwards returning to burn the buildings, which you will have in the papers, was certainly a bold, intrepid maneuver, and as such astonished our enemies. The barges full of armed men were afraid to attack our whaleboats at a proper distance, and the armed vessels, either agitated with fear or destitute of judgment, did it without execution. The next thing that took place was the possessing and fortifying a post by Brown House very near their lines. This has been effected with the loss only of one man, and he not employed there, though they worked in open sight of them and exposed to an incessant fire from their cannon, which our people treated with extremest contempt, not so much as once leaving their work or returning to a shot. No general movements have taken place. There was an appearance of it the day before yesterday on Roxbury's side, but they did not venture out. General Thomas, who is yet continued in that command, made an excellent disposition to receive them, and was disappointed. Roxbury is amazingly strong. I believe it would puzzle 10,000 troops to get through it. I mean, of the best in the world. I am just told that our boats have this day been into the lighthouse and burnt it in spite of the firing from a man of war and a number of boats. I hear it was executed by 300 Rhode Islanders. I don't learn that they suffered any loss. It is said they are more afraid of our whaleboats than we are of their men of war. A few armed vessels, I am abundantly convinced, would produce great consequences. I want to see the rifleman and should be pleased to see the hussar at the head of his troop. You need not fear our treating them with the utmost tenderness and affection. There's the update on the hussar. There is a strong spirit of love and cordiality for our friends of the other colonies prevailing here. The finger of heaven seems to be in everything. I fear nothing now so much as the smallpox in our army. There is some danger of it, though I hope it will be stopped, and proposals of a conciliatory nature from England. The first would be dreadful, but the last more so. I see the difficulties you have to struggle against, and the mortification you are obliged to submit to. I did not expect another petition. I hope, however, your sentiments and plans will finally prevail. The infatuation of Britain may supply the firmness of your brethren, and effect what their timidity and ridiculous moderation would otherwise prevent. If the Canadians should relish an army of ours there, I am told they will think it would be a grand move, Captain Darby, who sent with the account of the battle of the 19th of April, returned 2 days ago. He was there 8 days, and came away before Gage's packet arrived. He says trade and the stocks were amazingly affected in that short time. Lord Dartmouth sent 3 times for him. He refused to go, and when he threatened him, he decamped, got on board, and came without either entering or clearing. I shall enclose you a letter brought by him from Sheriff Lee, and one of the latest papers. By the letter, I fancy General Gage is to expect no further reinforcement this fall. They are very sickly and are greatly reduced. The Tories in Boston, I believe, are low enough, are bowed down with the load of guilt they have by their wickedness accumulated and the apprehensions of what is to come. I am concerned for your health in this hot season. Pray take care of it. I have dispensed with attendance on public worship this afternoon in order to write to you, having no other time. Colonel Reed was kind enough to give me notice of this opportunity. Pray present my best respects to all my friends, among which I presume to rank Mr. Hopkins and Ward. Your own goodness will induce you to continue your favors. I shall lose no opportunity of writing as long as you continue to be pleased with it. When you are tired with my incorrect ramblings, you will, I hope, very honestly tell me of it. I shall think it not strange, and shan't think of resentment. I never write well. I am sure I can't hear crowded with business and surrounded with company. Your usual candor must be called into exercise. It is greatly relied on. I am, as I believe I shall be, your sincere friend, James Warren. Okay, footnote number 1, probably John Adams' letter of 3rd of July. Footnote number 2, I think I read that, by the way, so you can go to that letter from 7th of July, 1775. So you can read that. You can listen to me read that letter in that video. Footnote number 2. One of the 2 letters mentioned first was that of 10th of July, which enclosed the pamphlets. The other has not been identified. The pamphlets were a declaration by the representatives of the United Colonies of North America, now meeting in General Congress at Philadelphia, setting forth the causes and necessity of their taking up arms, Philadelphia, 1775, etc. And the 12 United Colonies by their delegates in Congress to the inhabitants of Great Britain, Philadelphia, 1775, etc. That was called, by the way, that's called the Olive Branch Petition, and I read that on that date that it was provided, so you can see it. You can go back to, I believe, the 6th of July and listen to me read that. Footnote number 3, pursuant to the resolution of the Provincial Congress on the 20th of June, the newly elected House of Representatives met at Watertown on 19th of July and elected Samuel Freeman clerk and James Warren speaker. Footnote number 4, James Adams described a hussar in the second of 2 letters of 6th of July. I read that and I was interested to hear the update. So I guess James Warren is just acknowledging that they will be expected to show up at Boston at some point. The Hussars. Hussars? I'm pronouncing it Hussar. Footnote number 5. Enclosures not found. John Derby, son of Richard Derby, a prosperous Salem merchant and brother of Richard Derby Jr., a member of the Provincial Congress, received orders on the 27th of April from the Provincial Congress to proceed immediately to England with dispatches describing the American version of the Battle of Lexington and Concord in order to anticipate General Gage's own account. Arriving in London on 28th of May, Derby lost no time in circulating his description of the battle, thereby scoring a propaganda coup. Returning to the province on 18th of July, he gave Washington and the Provincial Congress first-hand accounts of the British reaction. And etc. Okay, those are the letters from the 20th of July, 1775. If you liked them, please give a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See you tomorrow.